Shreveport City Councilwoman LeVette Fuller is here. So your vote yesterday on the, give us a little background, if you will, because this was sort of under the radar until the last minute, at least to the general public. The prospect, the idea of a new housing project in the Martin Luther King area. Who was for it, who was against it, and why?
District A, MLK area, there were a couple of developers that wanted to come in and do a development on Audrey Lane. And they'd been working with the councilperson, Bradford, on this. One of them is local. He's born and raised in Shreveport. He lives in the D.C. area now. He's super smart, done well, wants to get back to the community. The plan was for affordable housing. The one bedroom, single unit, single individual would be paying $540, $560 a month, and they have to make a maximum of $26,000 a year in order to qualify for those apartments. It's like your regular market rate looking apartment complex, swimming pool, community center, tutoring, nonprofit attached to it as amenities for community involvement and improvement, I guess. But the issue, and it was planned to be all gated out. The other piece of this, the other component was that this group is in manufacturing of like a partial prefab housing material that they were going to first start making here in the Opportunity Zone, the West Shreveport Opportunity Zone, and then they would build out the apartments.
So it was kind of like a 2-for-1 deal.
86 jobs to start with the opportunity to expand three different phases. So they were going to come in, make the materials, ship the materials from here as well, build this apartment building here that would be the affordable housing in the Cooper Road area. Well, the issue started when they needed the rezoning, and it was at the MPC level. The MPC staff recommended denial. They're like, let's just not do this. It would be spot zoning. That would not be a smart thing for this particular piece of land. But the council person, Bradford, said, no, this is good. We want this. Everybody wants it. A few people from the community came to that same MPC meeting and said, we don't know anything about it. We'd like more information before we get committed to this. A little bit more information came out in that meeting, and a few people were like, well, it sounds okay, but I still want to know more. And the MPC board said, yeah, unanimously, let's do this. And then it came to council. Before it made it to council, the day before it was introduced 2 weeks ago, there was a community meeting with Bradford and his constituents and the developers, and it didn't go well. People were kind of upset, and then the next day it was on the agenda for us to vote to move it to a second read, and that was yesterday. Between those two council meetings, there was an additional meeting hosted by Representative Glover, who I saw little videos of some of these, and that was a fairly intense meeting as well, where people were saying, we don't think that this fits what we want for our community, and they showed up Monday and Tuesday, and we voted it down 5-2.
There are a lot of the complaints, and I watched that part of the meeting, many of the comments. A lot of the complaints were we did not have due process.
Right.
In your view, were they kind of left out in the loop until the last minute?
I think that they were. And I think that the simple act of having the developer reach out prior to the rezoning meeting at the MPC level would have gone a long way. If their site plan is set in stone and this is what they want to do, maybe that's not the right fit for that particular area. You're increasing traffic, you don't have the infrastructure, and it's not what people want in their front yard.
How were they left out? I mean, what were that wouldn't have happened in you know what I mean? In some neighborhoods, you think that wouldn't have happened like that.
Maybe, but things slip through a lot of times, and so it depends on the council member. It depends on the process. What happens is when the MPC has a rezoning, they send it out to a 500-foot radius. They send out notice that this is happening so that people can come speak on it. In that particular area, quite a few of the property owners within that boundary don't live in the area. They just own that particular property. But that area is very tightly knit, and they want to know what's going on, because it's kind of like when you look at Highland, you could live as far away from Don's Seafood as Olive Street, but you still care about what's going on in there. And that's what's happened here, is the buy-in opportunity for something that affects the overall community didn't get their input because that radius was so tight and didn't have enough of the population in it.
Was the prefab housing factory and or business that was going to open, was that dependent on getting the okay?
Yes, all of those things had to come together. And the one selling point for me on all of this was the jobs. However, when that many people are telling you there's so many problems with it, and then it's a no-go.
Was the vote yesterday, specifically your vote, was it no, go away, never talk to us again? Or
I
it was,
actually
let's say your plan B?
Well, my suggestion was that we remand it back to the MPC, but we weren't able to do that procedurally yesterday. But ideally, you sit down with the community and you figure out a compromise to make it work. And for me, that might have been a mix. Instead of waiting to phase 2 to put in housing, which is the thing that people wanted, is more single family homes. Don't wait till phase 2, figure out a way to accommodate that in the first phase.